Good morning, beloved. It is a rainy, gross Wednesday here, but we're going to make the best of it. Thoughts from the car. So, someone had asked me a few days ago about how to be more authentic. I did a video about authenticity online, especially with social media, and why it matters for us to be authentic. And a question came up of, what does that look like? How can I be more authentic? At work, at home, with my friends, online. And I think it comes down to one thing. Authenticity, at the core of it, is really about vulnerability. And so vulnerability is a superpower, because I think it was Brené Brown who said it, that it's the core. Vulnerability is the core of all emotions. So emotions like compassion, empathy, care, concern, love, all of those are at the core need vulnerability. So vulnerability is allowing a part of yourself to be seen that we don't necessarily want to be seen by the world. And that when we allow that to happen, that makes us more authentic. It makes us more relatable. So, society as a whole, and our culture in society, has made vulnerability a more feminine trait. And that's just stupid. It's bunk. I'll be honest with you. Being vulnerable is not a feminine trait or a more masculine trait. It is a human trait that is essential to us to be able to feel and be good humans, honestly. And having been someone who's been in leadership roles throughout my life, I will tell you that people who I respect the most, good leaders, both male and female, many of them male, are the ones who are the most vulnerable with their lives, towards their leadership, towards the way they lead people in their relationships with others. Those are the people I respect the most. They're the ones I can relate to and I want to emulate and be like. So get it out of your head if you're like, oh, she's talking about vulnerability, this is for women, because I'm just gonna be honest and very blunt, that's stupid. We need vulnerable men in our society. We need men who are willing to feel their feelings to be good leaders. So, and that kind of brings me, I guess, to my point of how to be more authentic is to be more vulnerable. Well, Brianna, how can I be more vulnerable? What does that look like? What does vulnerability really look like? And I think the first thing, so I think there's like five things that are essential to being more vulnerable. And the first one is actually feeling your feelings. In our society, we've made it where we don't want to express or show our negative feelings: anger, shame, guilt, grief. You need to feel those feelings. And I'm not saying you need to feel them all publicly all the time, but you need to actually feel those. You need to process them, sit in them, be with them, because if by just covering them up and not feeling them, they just get pushed down, and that literally changes you as a person. It changes your brain. It literally changes your brain. And when your brain changes, your actions change. So you need to process and feel your feelings first in order to be a vulnerable person. I think the next thing is admitting your mistakes. None of us are perfect. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Not one of us is perfect. There was only one person who was perfect in my belief system, and that was Jesus. So there's that. Now, perfection is unattainable in this lifetime, is my belief. And I'm not saying celebrate your mistakes, not saying celebrate the things that need to be better about yourself. And we all have things we need to improve and we need to grow in. But an essential step to being a vulnerable person is admitting you make mistakes, right? Which goes back to our talks that we've talked about with apologizing and asking for forgiveness. I think the next thing is taking chances, taking risks. So you guys remember a few days ago, I was talking about, I did a challenge. I challenged people pleasers to take a risk and step out. And I think that's a big part of vulnerability, is being willing to risk and being willing to make a mistake. That's huge. We can't be afraid of making mistakes. We can't be afraid of stepping out. I mean, you can, but that's just not a way to live. And if you want to be someone who's kind and compassionate and you want to be a true leader, you have to step out. And that means you need to be vulnerable. You need to make yourself vulnerable. The other part of that too is risking rejection, which, we kind of talked about. Because when we make mistakes and when we take risks, we face rejection. We face the possibility, the opportunity for rejection. So we have to be okay with that. Another part of being vulnerable is sharing details of our lives that maybe we wouldn't necessarily share. Now, yeah, we have to be appropriate with this, especially, in the workplace, online, who we're sharing with. But essentially, in order to be vulnerable, being a vulnerable person, being an authentic person, is showing details about your life, sharing them with people, things that maybe you want to keep close to the chest. Those mistakes. It's sharing things about your life, of what your struggles are, what your dreams are. It doesn't even have to be bad things. It's good things. What are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are your goals in life? Sharing those things, those details about your life, sharing, relationships in your life, what your likes are in life, is super important in your authenticity and being vulnerable. And then I think the last essential piece of the part of vulnerability and getting your vulnerability superpower is sharing your needs. Your needs can't be met, and people won't know your boundaries in life if you don't share them. You have to share what you need in life, especially when we're talking about relationships. Whether you're talking about intimate relationships, platonic relationships, online relationships, there is beauty in sharing vulnerably what your needs are. And again, you only can decide what is appropriate for you and your situation and your life. But again, it goes back to risking. And again, it goes back to being authentic. And again, it goes back to sharing your mistakes. So all of these things, when we put them as a whole, that is what vulnerability is. That's what being authentic is being vulnerable. So I'm way over on my time today, but I felt like this was a topic that, in order to answer the question more fully of how to be authentic, this is the crux. The superpower, the secret sauce, is vulnerability. So I hope today you have a beautiful day. And if it's raining by you, I hope you get some sunshine. And have a great day, guys.